But the best part was the guy Lopez's reaction to that. He's standing next to her. What the fuck are you talking about? So dumb. Why? I'm serious. Like,
You're live.
oh, I'm live? Okay. I don't remember what the. Oh, yeah, this is this one. We gotta show people. This is so good. Hold on. We can just link the video. You can
Polls
just.
have shown a fifth of Americans
Yeah, turn it
can't
all the way.
locate the U.S. on a world
There you
map.
go.
Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa.
What the fuck does that have to do with South Africa?
So we will be able to build up our
Look at his
future.
face. He's like, what the he's like saying, like, what the fuck's going on?
Look at that thing right here.
He's like, shut the fuck up. Anyways, oh.
Scheduled live program.
Yeah. What are we doing a video on today?
Watches and the connection between the cars and the watches you should be wearing.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to Watch Trading Academy. And in today's episode, we are going to be breaking down cars and watches, which match which. Talking about different people's perspective of which cars equal which watches, which ones are cooler, which ones are not. And today, we're going to be breaking down our very own definition, but with a twist, because I actually have owned almost every single car and every single watch on this list, so I can tell you from a place of experience and not just a place of assumption. I hope you're ready, and yes, I am wearing a full white ceramic Abu Dhabi Daytona. Let's get to it. Today we are talking about cars and watches because many of you guys know I own the channel Exotic Car Hacks because I'm an avid car collector, and I'm also a watch collector, but for the most part I'm notoriously known for teaching people how to make money trading watches on the internet, not so much just collecting a lot of watches. But believe it or not, I have a very extensive personal collection of watches that I don't ever intend to sell, that are mine to keep. And I've displayed them a few times on Instagram if you follow me at I Create Millionaires. But otherwise, for the majority of times, you'll always see me posting watches for sale. Now on the car front, I'm a lot more collector driven because I don't really flip cars. I collect cars and teach people the basic principles of getting in and out of exotic cars, regardless that you use them or collect them, to either break even or be able to create a profit out of them. So that is a discussion for my other channel, Exotic Car Hacks, so make sure you visit that if you want to learn more. But today we are talking about cars and watches and how they interact. Which cars match with watches? So we're gonna get straight into it with a couple of these, and some of these are going to surprise you as to why I believe these are matched. So the first watch that is gonna match the first car is what watch is ideal for Ferrari. This is probably the most notorious brand in the world. What watch is right there for it? Now, personally, I believe Ferrari is a brand of finesse, and while yes, it is somewhat, you would say the people know the name or they can tell or it's kind of flashy, it's also not. And that's why we've decided to pair it with Patek. That's right, you see, I believe that Ferraris are a finer thing that appeals to an older audience. They're not as crazy and attention grabbing as Lamborghinis, and yet they're very refined and have a history and heritage. And I think that's one of the reasons here, because of the demographic of who they're for, who basically goes and buys Ferraris and who buys Pateks. It's a match made in heaven. You know, understated on some models, much more aggressive, but you still know it's money no matter what. And that's why we think Patek and Ferrari are a match made in heaven. Now, the next one's gonna surprise you because Lamborghini, on the other hand, a much flashier, bulkier, larger brand, more, you know, out there in your face, is gonna be teamed up with AP. Now, AP, on the other hand, is a brand that's younger, a lot flashier, larger designs, more in your face, and more colors than Patek. And for that reason, I'm a big believer that it is much more coordinated with Lamborghini than anything else. Not just in who it's for, but more Lamborghini owners should wear APs because it matches their personality much better. All right, next, you ready for this? This is gonna be an interesting one. Aston Martin. So Aston Martin is the James Bond brand, right? Like the brand that's known for being British, for being classy, and for being incredibly good looking, but yet it just doesn't hold its value as well. And because of its British nature and how many they make, it's not that special, even though it looks very, very special. That's why we've decided to team that one up with Jaeger LeCoultre. So we believe that not just because Jaeger has a partnership with the MVOX series with Aston Martin, but also because generally speaking, it is actually a good match generally speaking. It is a very special designed watch. It is much more expensive looking than you can acquire it for, and you can usually acquire it at 50 cents on the dollar or less, which is very similar to Aston Martin and makes sense. Now, let's get to the next one. You ready? We're gonna go for the big one. Bugatti. Now, Bugatti has been notorious on the internet for teaming up with Jacob, but let's face it, Jacob is truly not a brand that is going to be on the same level as Bugatti, even though that's what they kind of want, because there's a real engineering in Bugatti and performance. And for that reason, one of the things about Bugatti, it's about breaking limits as a car, and it's also about craftsmanship, but more than anything else, because we know it's kind of got a lot of Volkswagen parts, etc. One thing Bugatti does well is their stuff performs. And there's a lot of argument about if Bugatti is indeed like the top brand, or what about Koenigsegg and Pagani, and we're gonna get there. And that is why we've teamed up Bugatti with Richard Mille. You see, Richard Mille are performing specific watches, highly focused on sports and performance and strength. And I think that's why it matches Bugatti, but also the customer base matches that is the highest level, the best one, and it creates the best opportunity to kind of look at that as not necessarily the highest, but one of the most respected being the highest, because I can promise you that when you drive literally a Bugatti, everybody notices you the same way that the general public notices an RM, and that's why they're a match made in heaven. All right, let's get to the bigger one, Pagani. Now, Pagani, notorious for its beautiful design, intensive styling, crazy next level type of engineering, but yet the performance nowhere near Bugatti or record breaking, and the appearance of it, while art in every form, not as widely known as Bugatti, which is why we've decided to team it up with MB&F watches. Interesting, unique, super limited, art-driven watches that just seem to be not only very expensive, but really for collectors and curators more than anyone else. All right, next, the egg cars, the Koenigsegg. What do we team that up with? Well, this is one of those things where I personally don't like Koenigsegg, and I'm gonna tell you why. Every person I've ever known that had one, and every interaction I've ever had with one, has led to very poor craftsmanship, and ultimately something that just was overhyped and overpriced. And so therefore, until pre-COVID, it was usually heavily discounted. And it has made somewhat of a comeback recently as kind of a very prestigious high-end cars, as the collector markets have been on fire, which is why I've decided to team it up with Jacob Co. That's right, instead of teaming up Bugatti with Jacob, I've decided to team up Koenigsegg because the Koenigsegg brand isn't as consistent, and nor is Jacob, and they've recently had a comeback. And so I feel like they're just a good match there. All right, next, Royce. Now, one of my favorite cars of all time and favorite car brands ever, teamed with not so much of a favorite watch brand, but the Rolls-Royce brand is about understated insanity and elegance and very functional cars, like meaning Rolls-Royce cars are actually excellent cars. In addition to being excellent, their designs, while understated, have a sense of elegance and upscale that you don't find everywhere, which is why I've decided to team it up with a watch that I don't wear, however I can respect, the Vacheron Constantine. So to me, Vacherons are very similar to Rolls-Royces in the sense of how these watches would appeal to the same kind of user base, ultimately individuals who want something slightly different, but yet still very respected and still of high quality. And that's where I give both of those brands a match there. All right, next, we're gonna team up Bentley. Now, Bentley, notoriously known for teaming up with Breitling, right? But that's not really a good match. Why is that? Because Breitling watches are sold in malls and are typically discounted as high as 70 to 80%. However, Bentley, especially with its new collaboration with Porsche, has created an incredible line of new cars, incredible new styles, and incredible new opportunities for the brand to get the next level. And I would have agreed that maybe Bentley would team up with some Breitling watches over the last 10 years, but in the last 2 years or so, things have changed, which is why I've teamed it up with Ulysse Nardin. Now, Ulysse Nardin, because if you look at the brand as a whole, a few Ulysses were always great watches before, but the majority were crap, just like Bentleys. However, now in the new line of Freaks and the new line of Ulysse Nardin, some beautiful pieces are starting to come out and a great comeback story, no different than Bentley, which is why I think they're a match made in heaven. Now, you ready for this? The most notoriously, most famous watch of all time and the most famous car of all time, Mercedes teamed up with Rolex. It goes without saying that while Rolex has incredibly high models like the Platinum Daytonas and very special, exciting variations of models, like we know Daytonas aren't necessarily expensive, but special Daytonas are very expensive, etc. That is literally the same thing as Mercedes. It is a name brand that is known for luxury everywhere, not the highest, not the lowest, but the majority of Mercedes cars are complete shit. So are the majority of Rolexes. With less than 8% of its catalog worth more, I would say that they're in line with each other and will be fantastic together. All right, next, you ready for this? Range Rover. Now, Range Rover is just a perfect match for Cartier. Now, this is gonna be a weird one. A lot of people always ask me, like, why would you match the two? Because Range Rovers are also understated, but they act as a state of jewelry. And here's what I mean, with Cartier being more of a jeweler than a watchmaker. You see, I look at Range Rover as more of an off-road company with a luxury segment. Their performance is really in the off-road space, but they've really entered the luxury space creating off-road luxury. And for me, Cartier is more of a jeweler who's entered the space as it pertains to watches. So they're not really a watchmaker, they're more of a jeweler. And so for that reason, I've decided to team up the two. Now, let's go to this one. You're gonna find this funny. You ready? Maserati. Probably one of the biggest pieces of shit car manufacturers ever introduced in the world, with about 90% of their cars being complete trash and continuously breaking down, meeting with the perception that the majority of people who afford Maserati cannot afford Ferrari, hint why they buy Maserati, and blah, 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 but with ties to Ferrari, meaning some kind of design cues and appearing much more expensive than they are. Which watch has done the exact same thing over the years? You ready? The most hated watch by most jewelers. Now, I actually like the watch, but it doesn't matter. It's still the most hated watch by most jewelers. Hublot. You see, Hublot, while beautiful in designs, is notorious for doing crappy stuff that devalues their watch, just like Maserati. See, Maserati has great concept ideas and designs, so does Hublot. But you see, cheating their customers and putting bad parts in cars and literally cross-promoting cars with Chrysler and other things makes Maserati a very weak internal brand, just like Hublot is a very weak internal brand as well. And one of the core reasons why we just unfortunately teaming up with Maserati. Now, you ready for this? Next two, Jaguar. Jaguar, an incredible company that makes and has had a pretty good comeback recently, right? But the majority of cars, much more expensive on the surface, caters to a much cheaper audience that buys the product used. That is why we've teamed up Jaguar with Breitling. While very much a lot of volume, very much some units that are expensive, the majority of the concept is basically a discounted, cheap variation or entry to the luxury market. So that's why the two are together. Now, we're gonna laugh a little bit about this. Panerai. Now, I'm a big Panerai fan. I think Panerai is a good company. They've had their problems as why. We're teaming it up with Porsche. Now, here's the thing about Porsche and Panerai. They both make quality products for the most part, and they both undertake very cheap product as well. Like, they take watches that they shouldn't be making, and they take on cars they shouldn't be making. We all know no dignified human drives a Porsche Boxster, or no dignified human drives a Macan. We know that, but you now know that. But we also know that Panerais can range from $3,000 all the way up to like $100,000, but the majority of the brand is on the lower side, making it a beautiful, affordable, and still very consistent with its brand image of what it does, just like Porsche. The thing with Porsche that makes it really good is the consistency in its product. However, we're gonna team the two because they both have retarded CEOs. Let me tell you this about Panerai. Their CEO posts fake watches on the internet. That should tell you all you need to know about how little he knows of his own brand. And the Porsche CEO is so stupid that he allows dealers to run circles around him all day long by literally extorting customers and destroying his brand. Also thinking he's doing the right thing because profits are high for now. He's gonna discover that later in a very, very alarming way. Now, I love the product. I have a 918, I have a GT3 Touring, I have a 992 Turbo. I have a lot of Porsches, I enjoy them, but it still doesn't change the fact that the way the company is ran is the Banana Republic, no different than Panerai. And for all of you guys that are Tesla drivers, you ready for this? The Apple Watch is your Grail watch. Now let me tell you why that is a match made in heaven, and it has nothing to do with technology, but rather everything about business vision and how the brand became appealing. You see, Tesla is not just an electric car company, it's an intelligent company that focused on making electric cars fast and exciting again, taking individuals who never thought of owning an electric car into the market for an electric car just based on speed. In other words, people who previously couldn't afford Ferraris or Lamborghinis or weren't practical enough looked at the Tesla as, I have an equally fast car and I have a way to now say I'm playing the game too. And you see, Apple did something unbelievable with the Apple Watch. And I can promise you this, Apple Watch owners are not watch people, they're phone people. So that is why that is one of the best-selling watch of all time, because people who won't wear a watch will wear an Apple Watch. That is the key, because no dignified human who wears a Rolex or a Panerai or even, an AP or RM will ever wear an Apple Watch. It's just stupid unless you're jogging. The argument though is it's an extension of your phone, not a watch. It just acts as a watch as a secondary item. And it's almost what Tesla did to the car market. So it has such a correlation. They're both techie, but this correlation really makes them a match made in heaven. But anyways, I'll let you guys decide. Did I miss one? Was one of these wrong? Was one of these off? We can even say BMW, maybe Chopard. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did I miss one? Did I not? Are the ones that I shared accurate or not? Leave me a comment, let me know if I'm right or not. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Sorry for the longer video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time for Watch Trading Academy. As one of the most profitable watch traders in America, I get asked this question a lot. Where do you go to sell your watches? Because buying them seems to be easy, but selling them seems to be the hard part. Well, simply put, I use this tool called Grailsy. See, Grailsy.com is an auction platform where you can list watches that are high-end watches, of course, and get auction bids by real retail buyers, not just industry wholesalers or traders like in Facebook groups. This is a huge opportunity for you as a watch trader or as a watch enthusiast to sell and buy watches via this auction platform. It's safe, it's easy to use, and more importantly, they guarantee the authenticity of each and every watch, giving your buyers or sellers the peace of mind when they're doing their transactions. So make sure you check out Grailsy.com to use this incredible auction platform. And again, don't forget, I never endorse something I don't use or believe in. This has been my motto for the last 10 years, and I can't recommend Grailsy enough.
Grailsy, buy and sell iconic timepieces.